There we go.
Hey everybody.
Hey, welcome to Monday night.
We were just working on our tomorrow morning kid drop off plans. So you're good to do drop off,
I'm
right?
good to do drop off
Okay.
and pick up.
I have meetings tomorrow.
Parenting's hard, y'all.
Uh
Why did nobody warn
you
us?
just said y'all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rubs
you're
off
a
on you eventually.
Texan. I'm so proud of
It rubs
you.
off on you eventually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Why did nobody tell us
Oh
about
my
how
gosh,
difficult parenting is?
y'all. My Yankee is finally becoming a Texan.
Yeah. Anyway,
Welcome to Let's Rock Lorcana.
yeah, we have.
/ Let's talk about our family coordination plans.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about Lorcana. Take a break from family coordination plans, even though we did Lorcana all
I
weekend.
was going to say, we had a very Lorcana weekend.
We
Do you want to
did.
quickly high level with everybody,
Very, very high level.
super fun things we did this weekend?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so
Very quick.
For those of you who know, we are in Austin, Texas. Dallas, Texas, about 3 hours north of us. We
Three
drove.
terrible hours.
Oh gosh, I-35, the worst. Okay, so we drove up to Dallas, and on Saturday we got to actually see Luis Huerta, who is a Lorcana artist. He is in from Mexico at a convention in the Dallas area that he comes to every year. We got to meet up with him on Saturday, open up a trove with him, which was
that was
super
fun.
fun. He was looking for one card and he actually hit it twice, which was awesome. We can talk about that as a group and what the group thinks about the card that he was super hunting for. And then so we did that on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we got to go to the Hunter Burton Memorial Tournament, which was an amazing event. Oh yeah, Liam even has deck box
swag.
going. It's a normally a magic event that raises funds for suicide awareness and prevention. This was the very first year, obviously, that they did a Lorcana championship. There were about 40 people in the championship. We got to commentate with 20 Lore Pro, which was an amazing experience. I have to say, shout out to 20 Lore Pro for being so open and accommodating to Elena and her needs. They had a place for her to set up her crib, travel crib and the and it was really, really great. So we got to commentate with them all the way up into the finals. We actually have one of the top 4 finishers that's going to join us this evening. So it was like a Lorcana filled weekend.
Yeah.
Tons of fun.
It's our life now.
Yeah.
Lorcana
and
life.
babies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you want to welcome our guests for tonight?
I do. Before I do, I have one piece of unfinished business to take care of. I admitted last week that I don't put terribly much thought into the numbering these episodes, and somebody called me out and was like, "You have 2 episode 15s." So for all of you out there, I know every single person watching is like, "Why did you go from episode 29 to 31?" That's why.
Yeah. So we're on 31.
We're on 31.
Look at us.
31 weeks of Let's Talk Lorcana with only 1 week off, I think. I think Christmas is the only week we took off.
No, we took off the day Elena was born.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Not the weekend Elena was born.
We took off our daughter's literal birthday. So sorry about that.
So 2 weeks off, yeah.
It would have been awkward. Yes, I know. Yes, I know, ABBC. That's why I just said that. That's why we skipped our number. Anyway, thanks to everyone joining us. All right.
Keeping us honest.
Yeah, but you all don't come here to listen to us. You all come here to listen to our fantastic guests we bring in every week. I know that's why everybody comes. So we've got 4 guests to bring in this week. It'll be a full house. We're really excited. We're going to talk all about Into the Inklands and the meta.
Your square got messed up this week because we have 4 amazing guests. We normally... Liam tries to keep a perfect square and with 3 guests, but we have 4 this week. So.
That's true. So we're just going to have to kick one out periodically. Just keep it even. All right. But all right. All right, so let's get into it. So first, our co-host this week is Sean Boom from Uncommon Cardboard and Glimmer Gang. Sean, welcome.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, I'm always excited to have you here. This is great. So I do want to shout out, both your projects are fantastic. Glimmer Gang is a fantastic podcast. A lot of great people there. A lot of great projects going on there. But I always love shouting out Uncommon Cardboard. And you
appreciate that.
You talk a lot more eloquently about the mission than I do. But it's a show dedicated towards diversity in gaming, right? How do you describe your mission with that show?
Well, I have a series that I've been running on the channel. It's called for inclusivity in TCGs. I just think it's really, really important to get that message across that TCGs are very notorious, especially the TCG that I come from, Magic the Gathering. It's kind of a boys' club, so I don't like that, and it didn't fully hit me that that's such a big issue until I got a little bit older and started looking around and realizing there's not a lot of diversity here. It's kind of cookie cutter, and it's there are a lot of people that could and would enjoy the TCG community if only they felt like they could have the chance, if it was a little more welcoming, a little more accepting.
I love that.
Like, preach.
Preach.
I appreciate everything you're doing, Sean. Honestly, like I feel like we've known each other for craziness like a year and a half at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just about that.
And at the time, I think I was the only girl in the Lorcana mix.
I think so.
And you were always just like so open and answered all my stupid questions. And I think that's what's so great about the Lorcana community is like we are welcoming to casual players like myself, and so thanks for everything you do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. You guys do some amazing stuff yourselves. So I feel honored that we get to be part of this thing that has grown beyond itself. I feel like we all came together and started this because we saw, hey, Disney TCG, this is going to be great. And then it's developed into something much more than that, and I love it.
Yeah, amazing family.
I agree. All right. We got a couple other people in the green room. We got to get in here. So first, we've got two guests who've been on the show before, friends of the channel. If you watch every week, you'll have seen them before. Both of these players played in the 8K in Georgia this weekend,
Can't wait to hear
and
all
did
that
very well. So they're fresh off, grinding in the current meta. Who do we start with, Aaron? Let's go top to bottom, just for fun. All right, top to bottom. So first up, Nicholas Larson, and they're guessing. They're like, we don't know who's on top in here.
Yeah,
So
it'll
Larson,
eventually.
Hey, welcome. Hey, thanks for joining the stream again.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime I get the chance to be a part of your guys' stream, it's a wonderful time.
Oh, we appreciate that. That means a lot. No, we're super. So you finished. Where did you finish this weekend? I know you did very, very well on day one. How did your finish go?
So at the end of day one, I was 24th. It was like, and they were taking like 45-ish people into day two. Overall, since I lost the last Swiss round that we played, and that put me at, I think it was like 35th. It was like right outside of like getting what they were like doing as their prize range. But like I was pretty impressed with the deck that I took this weekend. So it was a great time anyway.
Well, and we should mention, not to cut you off, but when you talked about the numbers, like that doesn't sound great if we're used to like a 40-person tournament. What were they?
Oh, no. It was 226 people was in the tournament.
Heck of a turnout, yeah.
It's crazy.
And some big pro players.
Yeah.
Right.
There was like a lot of people from Forbidden Mountain. There was the newly formed team that R&B is a part of. There was like a lot of like really good players at this tournament.
Yeah, we know quite a few for those in the chat who said my mic's quiet. I'm trying to boost it a little bit, so let me know if that works. But yeah, and there's some great players down there. I mean, you and Franz, who we're going to introduce in a second, and I mean, it felt like for the most part, like half of the players we follow, the pro players, were all down there. I know Zach Bivens was down there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up playing him. He was the one. He was the one that knocked me down to 24th. I played him in the last round of day one.
Bivens.
What deck
it was a
playing?
good match. He was playing Amethyst Steel aggro.
Oh, that deck list looks so fun.
I want to build that deck. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's legit a bunch of rares and below. It's like $40.
Yeah.
Only player like Zach Bivens would jump into the tournament with like a.
I feel like we need, while we're talking about this, we need to bring in our other
yeah, we do. All right.
Atlanta competitor.
All right, waiting on it's you know him, you love him. It's Illuminator Friends.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing tonight?
Doing well.
I also I think I followed a very similar play path to Nick. I finished day one at X2. X2 being X is the amount of round wins I had, and then 2 losses, which was integral for getting to day 2. I think we all echoed. We were all being echoed by the staff and everyone else that you either needed to be X2 or you had to have a specific amount of points per to get to day 2, whichever one was the higher amount of people. The points was 15. You get 3 per win. So I went 5-6-2. No,
it was 5-2.
5, yeah. So 5-2 in the first day, which got me to day 2. And then similar to Nick in day 2, I lost my last Swiss round, which put me down to the low 40s, I believe. I also played against Zach, and he was by far my worst match of the day. My other two losses in the event came down to game 3, and it came down to 2 or 3 turns of drawing uninkables. Yeah, it's just that close in these kind of tournaments. But Zach demolished me. It was not close.
Oh yeah,
it was awful.
That's the guest we're missing this week. We should have gotten Zach in here to.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody tag Zach on Twitter and tell him we need him in the chat here.
He's an honorary one.
Yeah. Because we're gonna talk about him apparently. I didn't realize you both played him.
Yeah, I think I played him round 5, and then
he played him round 5. I
7.
played him in round 7.
Bivens.
That darn Bivens.
All right. And I would say rounding out our Hollywood scores, but putting us a little off kilter. Brand new guest to the channel. We're really excited. We met our next guest at the Hunter Burton tournament this weekend. Also piloting a Ruby Sapphire deck. Finished in the top 4 and had a great day all day. It is Remington. Hey, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I watched y'all's channel for quite a while now. Actually, y'all were one of the first shows I saw that helped me get into Lorcana in the first place when I was just enjoying some YouTube in the evening in October.
Aww.
And it's led you here.
It did. Now I'm here. It's a real Cinderella story.
You're on the show.
Yeah.
You made it.
It was so wonderful to watch you play this weekend, to get to meet you. So thank you so much for going with us and jumping on the show tonight.
Oh, well, thank everyone here for having me on here. I mean, it was an absolute pleasure playing this weekend. It was great to go back and watch some of the footage today that I was seeing from the casting, see some of the interviews with the other competitors, as well as just hear what some of the commentary was throughout the weekend that I was missing as I was, playing other people in the event.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was great. And I appreciate, like Aaron said, appreciate meeting you this weekend, watching you play. And one of the reasons we had you on is like our other 3 guests here, the way you described the way your deck works and the meta and your approach to the tournament was really approachable, easy to understand. And so I think, you have a lot to offer to people watching tonight in terms of your thoughts on the game. So so thanks for being here. I do want to I have some questions about Into the Inklands. Obviously, I think the meta, we've really kind of, we've gotten through like the honeymoon phase and people are kind of
settling.
We're settling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You have some fans in the chat, Remington. So,
oh my gosh, wait, Chocolate, we saw him play this weekend too.
Yeah.
Yes, I informed many people that are in my play group and play team that I would be on the stream today, so they could watch as well. And it looks like several of them are jumping in. So
fantastic. Well, welcome. If it's your first time here, welcome to the stream. So I do want to I've got a bunch of questions we prepped on, the meta and cards that surprised us and kind of our thoughts after these 2 big events this weekend and all of you, having played in them. Before I do that, I've got definitely 2 pieces of other business I want to take care of. The first is I'll go in the first one. The first one is, if you've watched before, that sometimes we like to scrape social media and find, fun little stories to bring up. And I don't have anything super fun this week other than I've got a rules quiz for you all. Because I found this one, I thought it was interesting. I scratched my head on it a little bit. And then I think for anybody watching, this might be a fun, informative scenario. So here's the scenario. So you have 2 Mufasas betrayed leader in play. Your opponent plays a Be Prepared. And then you have on the top of your deck, just so everybody knows, you talk about how you're going to resolve this. You have a Mother Gothel on top. And then you have hold on. Let's switch this. You have a Rapunzel. Pretend this is switched. I didn't do it right. You have a Rapunzel on top of your deck. and then you have a Mother Gothel on the bottom. So for those watching, yeah, we'll all Google it. Thank you. So Rapunzel is the card on top, and then Mother Gothel is the card underneath it. How would you resolve that?
So if I was a judge that was called to this situation, each Mufasa is going to resolve one at a time, because but both are being activated. Technically, the turn player has stuff to activate first. So if so you get to choose essentially which Mufasa you get to play first. Let's say the left is Mufasa A and the right is Mufasa B. You say I resolve Mufasa A first. Reveal the top card. You said the top card is Rapunzel.
Yeah, top card's Rapunzel, yes.
Yeah, so then you would play Rapunzel, and then because the other Mufasa has is still resolving, you play that other Mufasa B. You play the Mother Gothel, and I believe both of these would activate at the same time. Yes, I believe both.
Yeah.
Of them,
so they're both
yeah.
seeing each other in play. So the Mother Gothel is going to have the damage on her, and then you can activate Rapunzel to heal Mother Gothel.
Yeah, so it's the same thing as the Mufasas. Both see in activation timing at the same time, so you can resolve them at whatever point you want to. Even though the Mother Gothel was played onto the field after the Rapunzel, you can choose to activate that Mother Gothel first because they were both played technically at the same time because they were played in the resolution of both of those Mufasas.
So the way that this like ruling would work is you have to resolve everything that's happening at first. So like Mufasa has the banish trigger, and you have to do both of those first before anything else can resolve, because Mother Gothel and Rapunzel are not in play yet until the Mufasas are finished resolving.
Yeah, it's kind of like. So I'll tell you how, Steve. This is a fascinating discussion because I think Magic players would like intuit kind of a stack effect and play it wrong. And the way Steve Warner described this in response to this question is, I'm just going to read it verbatim because that's the easy thing to do. So when Be Prepared Resolved, you have 2 triggers of Mufasa, but you get to choose the order that you resolve them in as the active player. So you resolve the first one, bringing Rapunzel into play, but her trigger is added the way Steve described it to the bag of triggered effects that you get to resolve. So now you have in the bag, you've got a Mufasa left to resolve and you've got Rapunzel left to resolve. So now you choose to resolve the Mufasa. Mother Gothel comes into play. Steve said her ability, she just comes into play with 3 low. That's not a triggered ability. It just happens. And now you have left in the bag the Rapunzel, and you can resolve her triggered effect. That's
okay, Nick, this is like Vanguard.
Yeah,
this is just Vanguard. So okay, yeah. That's fine.
So for everybody not paying attention, we don't have a stack in Lorcana. We have a bag.
Yeah. So like we kind of still we have a stack. It's just that it's very weird when you have conflicting effects that are going on. But basically, the way that Vanguard works is if people haven't played this, if you have a ability that's going to be triggered, like interrupting another ability, you have to be able to like choose which one that you can do. And the second Mufasa, you're obviously going to play the next card, especially if it's like you reveal Mother Gothel while Rapunzel's on the board. Obviously, you won't know exactly that this situation is happening until it actually happens, but you basically just get to, if you have an interrupting effect, you can choose whether you want to use the interrupting on play that's happening with Rapunzel. And I don't know why you would want to heal nothing and draw nothing, but who knows?
I'm trying to think of a relevant rule, a relevant point in the game where you would like where you would have 2 cards that activate at the same time, and then another card comes into play, and you would want to activate that one before the second one of the other card.
Yeah, I can't really.
I don't know.
I can't really think of anything, because like the only thing that comes to mind is like if you're playing the bounce package, but like the bounce package is like the Mufasa is banished, so like it's not on the board for a Mim or a Fox to bounce it.
Obviously, it'd be if there was the opposite order. If you had a
Yeah.
Mother Gothel on top, and then there was revealing a second, or the second card to be Rapunzel, but you technically wouldn't reveal the second card until you choose to resolve the second Mufasa trigger.
Mhm.
So you don't know what the second card's going to be. It could be anything. It could be another Mother Gothel or another Rapunzel. So you don't know until you
Yeah.
choose to activate that second or to resolve that second Mufasa trigger.
Do you get all that, Aaron?
I'm just so glad that Mother Gothel and Rapunzel are happening in the same movie. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
I really think like
there's the
the
noob
easiest
take.
way. The easiest
Okay,
way to
don't-
like just describe this is like if you have two Mufasas that are on banish and activating, just do both of the Mufasas and then play the card that's on top.
All right. I actually I think I have a good one. So this is a stack in the sense that if you take a bunch of blocks and throw them in the air at the same time and they're floating in the air, you can go and grab whatever block you want and put it on the stack however you want. So the throwing the blocks up in the air is those cards resolving. And then if you add more in the air while you're placing blocks on top of the other, you can just pick whatever you want.
Well, it's more like cascading triggers. So we have an activated ability that was triggered by the Be Prepared killing and banishing both Mufasas. And then as one Mufasa is resolving, we have other abilities that are being triggered and activated, getting added to that pool or bag of triggers that we're trying to resolve. And so you just choose which ones to resolve as you see them occur in the order that is most beneficial to you at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is like the game in general. Like you don't have to ink at the beginning of your turn.
Right.
You can ink
Yeah.
whenever.
You don't have to challenge
Yeah.
all at the same time either. You can challenge in any order you want or play
Right.
cards afterwards or before.
The air.
Yeah.
Hold the bag.
That's the
Mm.
biggest thing that I run
Yeah.
into all the time at my locals is everybody like has on quest abilities and they'll be like, I'm gonna quest my board. And I'm like, hold up, you got stuff you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's interesting.
No,
All
Franz,
right.
I like the throwing the blocks in the air analogy.
I
That helps.
I like the bag. I like
Juggling
the
the
bag. I
blocks.
like the air. I like. Anyway, I like any way you can describe it to a new player to help them understand.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I scratched my. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like I scratched my head on this one and I got it wrong.
No,
so.
for me, the throwing the blocks in the air makes sense.
Oh.
I don't
Yeah.
know why.
No,
That was
yeah.
just a very like. I'm just imagining like Olenna throwing things in the air.
Oh, actually, so there's a really good example in there. So, the Rockstar Stitch with Baby Simba, you can choose
Oh,
to
yeah.
activate one or the other at the time. So, say hypothetically, in the next set, we get a card that says when drawn, you may reveal this card and play it for free.
Mhm.
So, if you have a Rockstar Stitch on board and you play a Baby Simba, you could technically use Rockstar Stitch to exert Simba, draw. If you draw that specific card, you can play that card before the Simba resolves.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay.
This is all like putting if this comes out in September.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah. I would
example.
have never done that, and so that's actually kind of cool to think about that actually.
It's also like whenever you play like the Simba bodyguard with
Mhm.
Rockstar, you can just rest it with Rockstar Stitch and then draw.
I think, for like new players, I think the biggest takeaway here is like don't think linearly. Like this is all kind of in the air, in the bag, in the pot, like whatever sort of receptacle you want, it is in the receptacle. And this is not necessarily going in a straight line.
Yeah. Just
There you
because
go.
one card technically is activated first doesn't mean it has to be resolved first.
Right. This is, you know what? It's
This
like
is taking way longer than I thought it would.
Oh, sorry.
Wrap up. Go ahead.
No. It's like a story, and this is so like on brand for Lorcana. It's a story. Like a story does not completely happen. Like you think about if you were to ever play like Dungeons and Dragons. Like even though yes, we're going around in a circle, we're all rolling dice to like, okay, you're gonna hit this guy over the head, and then I'm gonna slide to the left. But theoretically,
Slide to the right.
Sure.
we've been doing the
Chris
Elmo
Cross.
slide too much in our house. Anyway, okay.
Everybody
So,
clap your hands.
but this is theoretically all happening at the same time. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yes.
supposed to happen simultaneously, and therefore, yeah, it's not like you have to completely complete one action before you can start another. This is like a battle scene or a story where there are a bunch of characters, Disney characters in this case, like all coming together and things are happening simultaneously and different characters are affecting each other all at the same moment. I feel like that's very like on brand for Lorcana.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, now we can move
It's not
on.
how I would describe it to a new player.
Well, it's been a long.
It's a thematic win.
I like
Yeah,
it. It is. It's a flavor win.
Bag pots and hats and air.
That is true.
There you go.
That is true.
Moving on.
Everybody, clap your hands. Okay. Thanks. All right. So, no, that was fun. That took longer than I thought it was, but I thought it was a good question, and it stumped
Great
me.
question.
So I was like, I'm gonna ask smarter people than me. All right. I said I had two pieces of business here. The other one I have is, and I think I'll save it to the end since we can get into some of our questions. But I said I was going to do a drawing for a signed box of Rise of the Floodborn on Friday, and I didn't because we were doing other stuff. So I'm going to do it here on the channel or on the stream, like at the end of the stream. So
Chat, don't let him get away with it. He lied to you.
Yeah.
that is true. I'm notorious for that on giveaways. I'm terrible at deadlines. Okay, so let's go into a few questions. What do y'all think? Everybody
why
says
not?
yes. Everybody.
Yeah.
votes yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Ooh.
Here's a fun one. So, all right. So, In the Inklands is out. We've all been playing it. The meta's shooked out a little bit.
Shape.
Shaken,
Shaped up, shipped out.
shaken and shaken, shaken and
Steak
baked.
and bake.
The metas, stabilized a little bit. And I want to know, what deck right now has you all excited? What are you enjoying playing? It might be the best deck, or it might be a deck that you're enjoying trying out in the meta. What's got you excited?
Well, I really like Ruby Sapphire. I don't even like it for like everyone that's playing what it is right now. And spoiler alert, we're gonna probably talk about this card. I don't like Lucky Dime Turbo, which is what's going around right now with Ruby Sapphire. I've always liked the item engine in general, and I've always wanted to like be able to play Ruby Sapphire at a competitive level. It's just I've always gotten to the issue of Ruby Amethyst just really like curb stomps this deck. Like set 2, your worst nightmare was playing against Ruby Amethyst because you couldn't beat the deck. You probably would have had to like go to deck out if you tried to beat them.
I disagree with you on that statement. As a person who also played Ruby Sapphire for a lot of Rise of the
Spicy
Floodborn.
times out here.
So I played Ruby Sapphire competitively in my local tournaments for 2 months straight. It was the only deck that I was playing. I wasn't playing any other decks. My win rate with it was like 29 wins, 6 losses, and 5 draws, with the large amount of those losses and draws being to Ruby Amethyst, but not all of them. And I had won against Ruby Amethyst multiple times. It did require them not to have the perfect curve to kill my stuff. And it also required us to not go to time in game 2. Because the biggest thing that I had an issue with playing against Ruby Amethyst with that deck during the last set was the fact that you didn't have a way of closing games out quickly. And that it continued to be this war of attrition of I play a big card like Maleficent and kill your thing. You play a Maleficent and kill my thing. And we go back and forth for 5 turns or 12 turns, not getting any lore. And then they would play a spell book. I played Judy Hopps and kill their spell book. And none of us are getting anywhere in lore game. So that each game would take 20 plus minutes to finish out. Where Dime gives us that answer. It gives you the answer to finish the game in a timely manner to have play against Ruby Amethyst. Last set, I felt like the matchup, if you tuned your deck appropriately for Ruby Amethyst, was about a 40% to 60% split rate of Ruby Amethyst in favor. And now it's much different. It's closer to a 50-50, if not favored for us because they have, for Ruby Sapphire, because they have absolutely no play against the Dime.
I would say it's probably 50-50 exactly right now. Like I like it's either like 50-50 or it's like skewed so little in one way or another. I think it becomes a skill matchup.
Oh, definitely.
Or like going first, going second.
Right, or choices you make on what you have inked and what you have not inked. Like, for example, I lost a match because I inked a Judy Hopps that it would have needed the next turn because the player played spellbook right after I inked it, and they only had a single spellbook in their list, so I wasn't
Right.
expecting them to have it in their hand, and I had a second Judy in my deck, and
I know who was
I
running
really
one
needed to
spellbook.
ink that turn, so I had to ink it. But I agree, I'm
More than
super
one
hyped about
spellbook.
Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah, so on the other end of that, I played Ruby Amethyst this weekend, and I played 2 spellbooks. So
That's why I
this
played 3 Judy Hopps.
yeah. So this specific
2
matchup,
J.
I played 2 times in the tournament, and then 2 games against Nick the night before day 2. We went 1-1. Whoever went first won, and
Yeah,
then in tournament, in tournament, I won one of the matches, lost one of the matches. The one that I won, I think I just had I had a little bit on him in terms of I hate saying skill, but I do think that I was more prepared for the matchup than he was. But the second one was my winning in for either top 16 or top 32 in the last Swiss of day 2. Both the first game I went first. I ran away with it with just playing evasive mini on 3 and gaining value with friends, and then eventually just questing out and getting to like 14-15 before he could really stabilize. Game 2, he was playing the version that was playing Heart of Defeaty instead of Fishbone Quill, and that was really able to push his ink up while not losing cards in hand, which really messed with my my perceived game plan going into that that matchup, which is trying to chip away at their hand advantage, especially when they're already getting rid of those cards. So he was able to get over me with 2 Lucky Dimes and 2 Tamatoas in game 2. Game 3, I was doing very similar to game 1, and it was going fantastically until I got locked at 6 ink, and I needed for 4 straight turns to either draw a snake or a single inkable card. The single I got locked at 7 exactly. The single inkable card, because I could play either the Tremaine or the Medusa that I had in hand, plus a single Pinocchio, because I was at exactly 18 lore with 1 goat in hand. Sorry, 17 lore. If I was at 18, I could just play the goat. I was at 17 lore with a single goat in hand. We went back and forth for 3 straight turns, just playing Tremaine or Maleficent, killing each other's stuff. I needed for 4 straight turns the inkable or the snake, so I could get the goat in, bounce or play the goat. And I drew Medusa, Pinocchio, Tremaine, and unfortunately that gave him enough time to go from, I believe it was 2 to 12 to 19 to 20, and that.
You're not so upset about that, are you?
Maybe.
The funny thing is, if you look back at that match, you could probably find a point where you probably played a Friends on the Other Side that could have been ink for you, or you played something else that could have been ink for you, and it went to the board. And that's what I was feeling, is those matchups come down to your choices of what you do ink and what you don't ink and what you mulligan in the first turn, as opposed to more so the other choices that can happen. Those are the ones that can really kill your run.
I would love to have the VOD of that game. Unfortunately, no stream. But that was like it was close matchups all day. Besides the one where I was, I think, just more prepared than the other player against players that were on equal footing. I went 1-1 against Nick, and then I went 1-1 and then lost an extremely close game in game 3, which put me out of winning money.
So, Nicholas, quick question. So we can get away from this sore memory. Because so Nicholas, you said you're not hot on the dime. You know, Remington said he ran the dime. He likes it.
Yeah.
How did you close out matches with your? Because you played well this weekend too. How did Ruby Sapphire do for you, and how did you close out games?
So I still played one of the Lucky Dime in the list, and I was just not relying on Lucky Dime. I was relying on like the factor that like Ruby as a whole, as a color, is just really good at removal. And if you use Sapphire to your advantage to get to all of your removal in the like early game, so like turn 2 you either you play a Tala or you play one jump ahead, and then like on the next turn you play Hiram to pop the pop skull, and then you just play a fishbone, and then you start ramping to like you're on 8 ink while your opponent is at like 3 if you go first, and you just you generate so much advantage being able to get to such high ink values that you allow yourself to be able to stabilize with like Hiram, with Judy, if you have to use Judy to pop your own items. And a lot of Sapphire players, like Ruby Sapphire players that I watched that weekend, the reason why they weren't like doing as well is they were very afraid of popping their own Fishbone Quill to with Haram. And I was like, if I have to pop Fishbone Quill, I have to do it. I'll get my 1 ink out of Fishbone and then be able to draw 2 cards.
Yep.
You can't be afraid of using an item for Haram, because if you play Fishbone and you tap it immediately, you've already gotten the value. Everything else, like afterwards, is just a plus if you get to do it. And I went against like I think I went against like 3 steel decks, that entire like tournament, and I beat all of them except for against Bivens. So I was 2-1 against steel.
Bivens!
But he wasn't playing like your like natural steel deck. He was playing Amethyst Steel aggro, which aggro is the worst match possible.
My take on the Bivens list is, if you are not named Bivens, don't try this. For about an hour and a half to 2 hours the night before day 2, because there was a 1K that scaled to a 2K that was going on as well, and we were going to be able to play it, because I didn't there was no shot that an X2 was going to be able to make top 8. So I got Zach's list the night of, and I was testing it, and I was like, I don't know how this dude did it. I don't know what voodoo he pulled, but I cannot do what he did, especially on like 1 to 2 hours of practice. I would need like at least 2 weeks, I think, to fully understand the mulligans, the lines, and how to play into the field. I think if you're looking for a hyper aggressive deck to quickly build and fight against stuff like Ruby Amethyst, I think it is easier to pick up Amethyst Amber, and it's just as cheap.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Remington ran into this as well. Is like I had a game where I didn't see a Fishbone, and I had to play Maui's Fishhook to get value out of Haram. And I will legit like pay 3, play a Fishhook, and I will just pop it with Haram. Like if I need the card draw, like it's an item that I get to pop. And my buddy Sean, who's in the chat, just said it. I played, I think in one game, I went to 12 ink and I played 3 straight McDuck Manners on someone. And I think my opponent like visibly sighed, because I just played 3 locations. It's like 6 passive lore that you can't do anything of if you're not playing Maui.
Right,
big,
or
man.
nice Fishhook. If they're playing the Fishhook, that can really help them a lot too.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that sometimes you have to kill your items, ones that seem precious to you, and you also have to ink. There might be a card in your hand that you're like, I really want to play this card. I want to play this Hiram. Well, you know what? If you don't get to 5 ink, you're not going to be able to ever play the Hiram and get value off it. You have to get to the 6. You have to get to the 7 to play Be Prepared and get to your late game. If you're not getting to your late game, you're not winning this game at all. And so I've played with people who test out these decks and they play with them, but it doesn't work for them because they don't understand the value of inking and getting to the late game, and that sometimes you have to sacrifice one Hiram to play another. And along those lines too, I think we were probably running very different ramp packages, because it sounds like you were playing one jump ahead. I wasn't playing any one jump aheads. I had 2 Mickey in my deck, and I was actually utilizing Montanui to gain passive ink gain as well, while at the same time trying to distract my opponents from taking out my characters, or if they did take out my characters, I was then inking as well, or I'd move a hey to Montanui, I'd drain a lore from my aggro opponents, or I'd play a Stitched Little Rocket, and then I would move them to Montanui, smash into a character, kill it, and then ramp back up in the same turn, all for 3 ink. And that seemed like a really good trade-off for me, and created a different style of tempo that a lot of my opponents couldn't anticipate.
So I tested against a ton of Montanui, and especially as a Ruby Amethyst player, like every single lore pip matters like crazy. Every single challenge needs to get value. So anytime that I can be taken off of my very linear quest to get to like 15 ink with a goat in hand. 15 lore with a goat in hand. Just anything that can take a challenge away from something that can quest. Like a Montanui being dropped early. Like, sure, I have the Fox, but I think Montanui's 5, right?
It's 2 to play and 5 willpower.
5 willpower, yeah. So like anything that will force another card to swing into it before I play the Fox is just huge. It's another lore off the board. It's like you can think of it as giving yourself an extra turn in like turn 12 against Ruby Amethyst, and like I said in my earlier games, like these games are made by 1 or 2 turns. These games are made by 1 or 2 ink. So anytime you can take 1 or 2 lore off the board, that could be detrimental to the Ruby Amethyst player in 10 turns.
Unless they use a Maui to clear it, they're using 2 characters, which are essentially 2 lore to clear it out of the way.
That was a great discussion. Before we move on, I do want to, Sean, you didn't play in a tournament this weekend, but what are you betting on right
now? Besides that wild list that Bivens used, I'm definitely super interested in that. I'm an aggro player at heart, so that list looks amazing to me. I've also been playing a lot of Emerald Amethyst, utilizing the Ursula Deceiver Ball.
That's my favorite deck currently.
Double singing songs is just kind of broken. Like, let's do something for free twice.
Yep. I like it. All right. I'm gonna move on to that. And do you have an answer, Aaron? Is there a particular thing? No. All right. Sure. All right. Here's a fun one. I'm curious, what card surprised you all the most in terms of its impact on the meta? Maybe a card, because there are cards that we see during spoiler season where like this card's gonna be good, and then there's cards that kind of sneak into the meta, and you're like, wow, I really underestimated that card. Then sometimes it shoots up in value because everybody's trying to buy it, and it's a big pain. And then you got B Squared bragging that they bought it for $3 when it's now a $20 card. So I'll just open it up. What card surprised you all?
I think besides Lucky Dime, I'm going to go with a card from Amber. I watched an Amber Amethyst player play a mid-range version of it, and he was playing Pongo and Perdita, just those 2 cards alone. And I was watching his game because this was the last round of Swiss, so I was my game was over in I think it was like 15 minutes because I played against Emerald Amethyst. So I was like, this is another rush deck that is very, very hard to beat. And I watched him play 2 Pongos, and in the same turn, he tapped 4 ink and like revealed off the top of his deck, and he revealed 2 Chernobyls. And he played them for free because he had the discard for it. Like, he played 1 Chernobog for free and then was able to get the other Chernobog online. It looks like such a fun deck to play.
Did he play the Chernobog and then paid 9 for the Chernobog?
No, he played 1 Chernobog, shuffled everything back.
Yeah.
And then in like 1 or 2 turns, he played another Chernobog. Like, that's how many cards he was able to get out.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's impressive.
Brutal.
That's crazy.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to agree with Jonty up there in the chat. Mr. Smee, I don't think anybody saw that bumbling little pirate doing as well as he is, but that card's making moves.
I think everyone saw that it deals damage to itself and like, that's not that.
They wrote it off. Exactly.
There's so many ways to mitigate that with like Amethyst Bounce Package, Sapphire if you're playing Cogsworth, or just in general, like some Stitch Rocket's a good card. Sometimes you just throw 3 into something and it dies anyway.
I saw someone put Mr. Smee on Maui's Path of Exile. So it just has resist 1 and doesn't take the damage.
There you go. I played against somebody. I was gonna say I played against somebody that was utilizing him. You play him turn 2, and then turn 3 you play the new John Silver. Because he's a captain, So
yeah, there are some good captains around. It's not like you get turn 1 Forceful Duelist, turn 2. So yeah.
I would say I have 2 specific cards. One of them directly affected me in both of my losses on day 1. And then the second one was a card that I was seeing all around me, both day 1, day 2. And every time I thought about how my deck as Ruby Amethyst in day 1 or Emerald Steel in day 2 would deal with it, I shuddered. That one would be Hydra. I was seeing a lot of Ruby Amethyst around me. I didn't match up into it, but I saw it like next to me like 4 or 5 times, and I saw it like standing up. But every time I saw Hydra trade into something, live, and then deal like 4 or 5 damage to something else, I was like, man, if I can ever get this card on the field, this feels so good. It forces a direct, like immediate removal. So like Let It Go, Hades, Dragonfire, Tremaine, not Medusa, Maleficent, stuff like that. Or else like this is just a house and it could take out 2 to 3 cards likely. Being the 6 cost uninkable does run in the way of Tremaine, Medusa in the Ruby Amethyst list. But in Amber Ruby, when you're playing those lanterns and you're getting this out early, you're not feeling that bad about it.
The second card, Mufasa high roll. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The second card that directly affected me because I'm playing Ruby Amethyst and I'm very upset about it is Befuddle. These aggro players out here just drawing 2 1-drops and a Befuddle every game against me, and I'm upset about it. So Befuddle being able to bounce a snake or bounce a 1-drop, so I can't play my snake or fox. Took at least 2 games off of me in those 2 matches, and it was rough. I think that card is extremely underrated.
Absolutely.
And definitely needs to see a lot more play, not even just in aggro, but probably in some mid-range decks.
Remington, what did you?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I already kind of talked about Montanui and how well it did for me. If we're talking non-Lucky Dime cards, I think Lucky Dime has been the biggest one that's changed. And the ones that we were expecting, things like Queen's Castle, people had to build their decks differently now, anticipating Queen's Castle and even McDuck Manor. And so I would say Montanui, because so many people didn't know how to deal with it once it was played. They were too focused on, okay, I don't care about that. It's only 1 lore. And then I would have a character die that was at Montanui, and then they would go to my Inkwell and they'd be like, wait, what does Montanui do? And I was like, when it turns all my characters into Gramatalas when they're at this location. So they end up going into my Inkwell. So then I end up getting 2-for-1s where I'm killing a thing and getting ink from it. And then it's still passively gaining lore for me. So if Montanui has gained me 3 lore from my game, the time it's been out there, and it's caused my opponent to have to attack into it, depriving them of 1 to 2 lore, then it's done so much to swing the game in my favor and was causing people to change their play style around that. Where initially they would just ignore it, but then game 2, they'd be like, I have to deal with this immediately. So it became this bigger threat to them, and then caused them to ignore other things that I was doing too. So it was essentially helping me attack on 2 different lines, much like how in some other card games you have the ability to do that, attack in 2 different lines to win the game. And then I would say something that we haven't really talked too much about would be Maui's Fishhook. Just its ability to give characters evasive to protect them for turns. Like if I know that my Ruby Amethyst opponent has Pinocchio in their deck, and then I might evasive one of my characters with Maui's Fishhook in order to prevent them from being able to Pinocchio my Haram, and then attack into it with a Maui or something else, or like or anything to get it off the board. So it caused me and other people to use their evasives to then attack into my locations and then give their characters evasive, so that I couldn't attack back at their characters if I didn't have my Fishhook out. And it's why I'm considering going up to 3 Fishhooks instead of just the 2 I was running beforehand.
It's definitely an interesting mini game, both in like the Ruby Amethyst mirror, the Ruby Sapphire versus Ruby Amethyst game. Is like if one person sees a Fishhook, they tend to be able to play a lot more aggressively with their lore versus if both players see the Fishhook, then everyone's just standing off. No one wants to quest. No one wants to touch anything.
Yeah. I like everybody's answers. We've seen some other stuff in the chat too. I've been highlighting them. Baloo is another one we've seen pop up. Or Rafiki Mystical Fighter. I think some of those we saw and we were like, like Mystical Fighter. I think we saw it and we're like, hey, that great turn 1 drop. I think my answer to as everybody said everything, I was like nodding along. I'll provide one more that kind of slid under the radar for me, although I knew it would be good. Is the Shift Robin Hood. It's not one that forces people to like really adjust, their entire decks to compensate for like some of the locations do, like Queen's Castle, like you mentioned, Remington. But there's two things about it though where I missed because I'm slow. One is the fact that they gave us a 1-drop inkable Robin Hood at the same time in this set.
Yeah.
And any Floodborn is good. You have to have the shift targets for it. But the fact that we had a 2-drop Robin Hood and now a 1-drop inkable Robin Hood means that you have 2 turns now to get that shift target into play before shift on turn 3. It sings Whole New World on turn 3. But then the other thing, its abilities are really good, but then the other critical thing is that that extra willpower above 5. So 6 willpower makes it, you need more than just one Along Came Zeus to knock it out. Yep. And that 1 extra over 5 just feels really good.
It's insane
against Steel. So
I will also say you did forget about the second shift target for that Robin Hood at 2. My boy Morph. The amount of times in day 2 where I played Robin Hood on 1, Morph on 2, and I just looked at my opponent and I said congrats. It was great. I loved it.
Oh, Morph. Do you have your playset of enchanted morphs yet?
I received the 4th enchanted morph at the event on day 1, so I could play for day 2. I need 5 more for my secret project.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
And then a lot more foil morphs for that secret project.
All right, next question. What card was overhyped and why was it Jafar?
I've been saying this since day 1.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it's Jafar. I think Jafar's still good. I think there's another card that's way more overhyped.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you go ahead. I have stuff to say about this too.
So I'll say that the Relentless Beast and then Sheriff of Nottingham and Bayou combo was the most overhyped combo in the entire game. People kept talking about how insane it was, that you could just destroy your opponent's characters. They'd end up having no characters in play, and you would gain 12 to 18 lore. And in reality, that doesn't happen. They play a Bayou, you kill the Bayou. They have to be able to play all 3 of them in the same turn, except you can't do that because you have to have Beast Relentless out beforehand for Relentless to be able to quest and activate on the Bayou to draw and discard. And so there was too many moving pieces. And even though in Lorcana, it's definitely a game about synergies and you're looking for these synergies, 3 card combos is still too many. You want 2 card combos and that's really about it.
You also have to play Sheriff of Nottingham, which is just not a good card.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's uninkable, right?
He is 4-cost uninkable, yes.
Yeah. The fact that he's uninkable, he takes up your uninkable slots.
Exactly. So hey, I tweeted about that Beast Relentless, and I said that he got everyone again. However, I think there are a ton of options for most overhyped card. Like you can go Relentless. You can go, honestly, Queen's Castle. I think had a very poor showing at this 2K. But I'm going to go completely out of left field because everyone is not thinking about this. The worst card in my deck as Ruby Amethyst was Madame Medusa.
I think specifically this weekend, Madame Medusa was like the worst card in my list as well. But I didn't go up against a lot of decks that were running like 3 health. And I think that's going to change going forward because we had Steel Song win the event for the 8K. And we also had, I think it was Blue Steel win an event, and then I don't know what won the event for your guys's one, Remington. Amber Amethyst. So like, I think Madame Medusa at some point is going to see.
It's Amethyst Ruby was what won.
Amethyst.
Yeah.
Ruby Amethyst. Okay. I was gonna say I think Madame Medusa will see more play now.
Yeah.
Because we have like Steel Song, Blue Steel, and like Ruby Amethyst is the only one that this card doesn't like hit too much.
So my big issue with this card was how many times I looked down at my hand and I saw this card chilling in my hand with nothing to do versus Ruby Amethyst versus Sapphire Ruby versus almost anything that isn't named Steel, and then against Hyper Aggro, I don't have time to get to this. there's so many even in just Ruby Sapphire, like you have Tamatoa, you have Gaston being 4, and even in Steel and like Steel Song, they can start playing stuff. They started playing Queen, they started playing Tinkerbell more, they started playing Cinderella more. So even in those Steel decks, which this hit like very hard in the early game, they're starting to prepare for it more and being able to play those cards. So if their opponent just has those above 3 attack cards on the field, this card's sitting in your hand, you're paying 6 for a 4/4 with 1 more. It feels so bad. And maybe it's because there were 2 of them chilling in my hand on day 2 in the last round, and I couldn't do anything with it. It was just the worst feeling in the world, and I am very close to cutting it completely for Tremaine's. I've been saying this since it got revealed. I still think Tremaine is a better card. It is more versatile. It has shift. You can go for double shift plays. You can bounce them back. I like Tremaine so much more than Medusa right now, and I don't think I'm going back. But also the targets for Medusa, especially in this meta when you're playing a lot of Ruby Amethyst and you're playing a lot of Ruby Sapphire. People are playing those cards that are less than 3, but those cards are already gaining value before you can kill them. So stuff like Judy Hop, stuff like Nick Wild,
Haram.
Stuff like I would say Haram's a decent target because it still represents 2 more cards later. Like that's like the card that I was the most happy to play Medusa against, I think. But like you have like all the 1-drops in Ruby Amethyst. You have Rabbit, which you just get them, like you play a card and you net them another card. Like the best card in Ruby Amethyst, in the Ruby Amethyst mirror to play Medusa against, is either the Tremaine or the Mini Surfer. But it felt so conditional the entire day. I found myself with one or two Medusas stuck in my hand for multiple turns the entire day, and I hated it. I hated it so much.
For me, I do feel that Lady Tremaine is much better in the Ruby Amethyst like deck in general, just because you're more often going to have your opponents just trying to play one character that lives, and then they have to pay the Lady Tremaine tax, where they have to play 2 characters at one time. I currently still have a 2-2 split because I didn't want to get fully off of Lady Tremaine. I like her. I like having the versatility though, which is why I went with the 2-2 split.
I was also on the 2-2 split.
Yeah, and for me, the reason why it was so helpful was against Ruby Amethyst and bounce packages, I could kill their Lady Tremaines, so they couldn't bounce it and replay it in a turn in order to get extra value off of it for the next turns in the future. So that's one benefit of me having Madame Medusas, was that I could just easily kill a Lady Tremaine and kill rabbits and prevent the loops that the bounce package allows.
I hate loops.
So
we are. Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with a very hot take. I think the most overhyped like thing that we've had so far is locations. In my opinion,
as a whole, I think 100% agree.
Locations as a whole. The way that I played McDuck Manor was like playing a spellbook in Ruby Amethyst, and even at that part, like Ruby Amethyst has so many ways to get rid of your location. And I think every other location that I've seen so far has such a like mid effect, and it's so bad that the best location that we have is one that doesn't even have an effect and has 9 health. That's that's the best one that we have, and it's like we had Queen's Castle. I think was the most hyped location that we had so far, and every Ruby Amethyst player that I encountered was saying that they were taking it out of their list.
I threw that card out like a week ago. Queen's Castle has not been in my list for a solid week and a half.
Interesting. That's a great take to end on. Because I'm gonna go mull this over. Because you're probably right. I mean, coming into the match or in the set, we all looked at locations and we're like, oh man, this is really gonna shake things up. It's a new card type, and Yeah, maybe it didn't so much.
It's just it is a card that doesn't do anything proactive until a turn later, and if your opponent answers it immediately, it's like the worst trade possible. They don't take any damage. You essentially just wasted a turn and then discarded a card.
Yeah,
I think what it is now is people are ready for them. People are
Yeah.
playing Rise of the Titans in their decks. People are
Yes.
playing Maui's Fishhooks in their decks to be able to kill off these things, and so they have less value than they did initially.
My main issue is literally that first card you just said. Why would you make locations and then immediately give steal, just an immediate banish that card?
Yep.
well, and
Yeah,
then
you give
wait
him the
for
silver bullet
Armageddon to show up.
immediately.
Because Armageddon's coming at some point.
Yep.
There was Armageddon's a magic card that destroys all lands. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
please, God, no. No.
Anyway,
Never,
all right.
never touch my ink. Don't touch my ink.
Do not touch
Yeah.
my ink.
I am
Please.
Land
waiting
destruction
for a
is the
mechanic
worst.
where I'm waiting for a mechanic where it takes characters from the board, puts it into the ink, and then destroys an ink.
Mm.
That's interesting.
That feels a little more palatable for sure.
But also,
Yeah.
like that just feels like diet removal. Unless you're trying to unless you're using it to try to get around like ward, like your opponent puts one of their cards in the inkwell and then takes a card from their inkwell and puts it in the discard pile to get around some sort of ward stuff. But if you're doing it just like that, then it's essentially just banish. Like it's like Dragonfire essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrace Black, another great player in the chat, also agreeing. Castle feels
My
like
team
a trap.
captain.
Yeah, great channel as well. Okay, so I these are great discussions, and we probably could do this all night long. But we have Aaron and I have some stuff to get to tonight, and I know all of you do too. And we all have to get over to This Week in Ink here shortly. But a couple pieces of business to wrap up. I do need to do a giveaway real quick. And we're gonna do a giveaway, and then we're gonna go around the horn real quick for any closing thoughts and tell people where they can follow you all. Before I do the giveaway from last week, hey, if you're new here, I'm just gonna plug the channel real quick. If you're new here, if you're watching and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people watching on Twitter this week.
Subscribe
If you're all Twitter folks. Xers. If you're out there and you're watching for the first time, head over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. We appreciate it. We do this every week and do random videos and other stuff, and I don't know, and sometimes give away signed boxes. All right, so we are. I'm sure the Inkwell would have a much better way of doing this that looks more professional, but we're not the Inkwell. And so I've got on this Google sheet here, I've got the entries from Twitter and the entries from Instagram, because we ran this on 2 platforms. So if you entered on either, we scraped it and we plopped it in this spreadsheet. I've got 163 entries for a signed box of Rise of the Floodborn. For those who weren't here last week, this is the box. It's Stephanie's box. Stephanie Shaw, the artist behind The Goat, got her box from Ravensburger and said, hey, all of you, I don't need this box, so I want to give it away to a member of the Twitter community of the Lorcana community. And we even we asked if she would sign it and maybe sketch a goat on it, and she said she would if the winner wants, because she's worried about ruining the box.
Goat box.
And I said, no, don't worry about it. I'm sure, I'm sure people will want it. So
does she understand the calamity that she has put us all through with Goat?
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I don't think she has. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up here on the screen. I'm going to pull up a random number generator, and I'm going to hit it 3 times. I'm going to hit this generate button 3 times, and then I'm going to go to the list. I'm going to see who won. And then I have to do a check.
Wait, so you're going to hit 3 times, and the third person is who won it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Third person's won it, and then I have to do a check because one of the criteria was subscribing to Stephanie's channel, and I'm going to go verify with Stephanie like immediately. So if you entered and you didn't subscribe to Stephanie's YouTube channel, you better go quick, because if you win, you're gonna
audit it.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna do another draw, and then somebody else is gonna win. So
wait, what is it? Why don't number 2 win?
Because I want number 3.
Well, no.
3's a magic number.
Right, then we'll do number 2, and then we'll do number 1.
Because we don't want to leave people hanging. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's hopeful. All right, ready? All right, 1.
Get out of the chat, Zach.
3,
Get out.
Bivens here?
Yeah, it's Lorcana
3.
Castle.
Oh, Bivens is Lorcana Castle? I didn't even.
Yeah.
Bivens!
Yeah.
Bivens! Con!
Okay, number 43.
All right, I wish
Who's
I'd known
number
that.
43?
I don't know. Let's find out. Number 43 is Mr. Capo.
Cool.
Mr. Capo.
There you go.
Mr. Capo, you have won a box.
Got to double check on Twitter or on YouTube.
Congratulations.
That'll be our winner, unless they didn't enter properly, in which case I'll draw again and we'll figure that out. All right. Before we go, after everybody's subscribed, I'm just gonna go around the horn here and please, any closing thoughts on this discussion, and then let people know how they can follow you and keep up with what you're doing. But we'll go in reverse order here. Remington, hey, how can people follow you?
People can find me. The only social media that I'm really on right now is Instagram. So look at me for at Remington 9000, and you'll see me there. I just recently posted me and another team member from the Hunter Burton Open and our winnings from getting top 4 and second place there. So you can find me on there. And my closing thoughts is stay kind in the community. We're trying to grow a new community. Best way to do that is to be nice to everyone.
Man, you should. All right, we're closing the show now. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Closing.
No more.
Speaking
No more
of being
shout-outs.
nice.
All right. Franz.
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube at Trevor's Tavern. I do competitive Lorcana content almost exclusively, and then on YouTube at Trevor's Taverns. At Trevor's Taverns. And then also check out Twitter in the next week or so for a handle called Team Lunar Eclipse. There may be some announcements coming out there. My final thoughts on this day is that I think this meta is extremely wide open. There are tons of decks that are viable, and because we didn't get to say it, there were 2 artists at the 8K, Jared and Amber. I got a few cards signed and doodled by them, and my God, they were fantastic, absolutely fantastic to talk to. Wonderful people. I love them. Go check out their socials. These are absolutely fantastic.
The best one is John Silver with the morph on.
I love the morph from the treasure map. Yeah, but also Jared did this scar in like 20 seconds. It was so fast, and it's so detailed and beautiful. It was wonderful. Loved it.
I love it. Nicholas.
Yep. You can find me mostly on Twitter at LSP_NicoSano5. I revamped my Twitter handle since then because we made a official team. And you can go and subscribe to Lore College because I'm probably going to be putting a video up there on a more detailed guide on Ruby Sapphire at some point. So we'll have to talk to Terrace about that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My closing thought is please don't be afraid to build a deck and build it creatively, because if you there's so much about net decking, but you should also find a list that is comfortable for you to pilot and color combinations that you want to play. It's not always about playing the best deck, because to be honest, if you're just playing the best deck, you won't perform at the best as all the pro players that are already playing the deck that you are now copying from them.
All right. And Sean, any closing thoughts?
Just that, like Franz said, I think that the meta that we're seeing with this set is so diverse. It doesn't feel like we're playing a 2-deck game anymore, and I really love that. I love to see the diversity. I like Bivens coming out of nowhere with the aggro deck, taking names. We're seeing the Ruby Sapphire deck come out swinging with Lucky Diamond, some other cool stuff. I love it. It's with locations being added in and some of the other fun stuff that we got with this set. You can really see the diversity in what this game can do, and I'm excited for the future. That Bivens guy.
We're gonna have to have Zach on next week. It's not fair. We've used his name in vain so much this week. Zach, we're gonna have to bring you on next week. Speaking of next week, before we say goodbye, one final piece of business. We did get a suggestion, next week, maybe talking about teams and team captains.
There you go.
That's a good suggestion. But we do have something else we're going to be talking about probably. We've got some news coming up this week. We have no idea what it is.
We have to see what it is and see if we're going to talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Which is Wednesday.
Lorecast, the first ever Lorecast.
Oh, yeah.
Because our other screen that this is on is open.
Right.
Yeah. So Lorecast coming up this week. It is it is a thing that's going to happen on Twitch. Go check out the Disney Lorcana Twitch handle. Let's see if we can push it to 1,000 followers.
If you're like able to at work, like don't get like fired or anything.
No, absolutely risk it. Watch it at work. I
Yeah,
would.
you know what?
Yeah.
Just put your phone face down.
Yeah, you only live once.
Put his headphones.
That's why AirPods were invented.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So plenty to talk about next week, and I'm sure because this is going to be a cool thing. I just want to say how cool it is that the Ravensburg team is taking time to connect, in a live stream with us. We've seen them do it on the main stage on Discord a few times. This is kind of taking it to the next level. So encourage you to watch. And if you can't, there's a lot of content creators who are going to be streaming this and then have the video on demand. So I'm sure you can find it. But take the time to watch because this should be a cool thing. So Wednesday at 10 Pacific. Am I right?
Yes, and I love how Ermeister says that it's tomorrow because he's in Scotland.
Yeah.
For those of us,
I just
who
thought he
know
was a time traveler.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
the Earl Meister. All right, so now we got to pause the catchphrase. So all right, so we're gonna.
What?
You'll see. All right, so we're gonna sign off. Everybody, make sure to check out This Week in Ink here in a moment, or 20 minutes, and until next week, sign off catchphrase. Pause.